Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast. I want to give a big shout out to Espacio 1839 for allowing us to do the podcast in here in their little store. Don't forget to visit espacio1839.com or visit them at 1839 East 1st Street in Boyle Heights. We don't have a sponsor for this episode, so don't forget, if you would like to donate, our Venmo is Dancing Sober, DANCNG SOBR at Venmo. So I think I should mention that for the first time, this is another big mess up, but for the first time I forgot to hit record on the microphone recorders during the podcast. So the sound being used is going to be the sound that was picked up by the GoPros. And that's just the way the ball bounces. So I hope that the sound quality is okay to listen to. I'll do my best to fix it so that it sounds good, and I appreciate your patience with that. And without further ado, our guest this week is our youngest guest so far, I think. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Erica Peralta. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast, and this week we have a young friend of ours, special guest, Erica G. Peralta. What's up?
What's up?
Representing 408, San Jose girl in the house. Welcome to Los Angeles. I mean, you've been here for a while, but the reason why I wanted to have you on is because you just graduated. Just completed your MFA. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, like 5 days ago.
5 days ago, fresh out the box.
Fresh out the womb.
So I want to get into first. We will get into where you grew up and stuff like that, but eventually I want to get into your experience with art school, and I just want to get this young, fresh perspective and how it was for you. And we've had a lot of people from Otis here, which is really crazy. Just last week, our guest was from Otis, Alan Nakagawa, and I don't know. We've had probably about 8 people that have gone through the Otis program on the show. And I still have a lot of friends that have gone to Otis. But let's start with little Erika, little Tu Loquita. And tell us about you growing up in San Jose and your experience, and we'll get into why or how you got into art.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a year since then, because I grew up in San Jose. And went to dual immersion programs from kindergarten to 5th grade. My mom she's still in the education system, but she was a principal for a small school and it ended up being a dual immersion program. It was a proposal that she had with a group of teachers, but I wasn't in that school. I was in the school next door, which was the same concept. So K through 6, I would say, I went to dual immersion program. So we spoke English and Spanish in class, and we learned in English and Spanish. So science, math, all of the applied sciences and applied subjects, those types of subjects, it was in Spanish. Language arts switched, so sometimes it was English, sometimes Spanish. Then I got to high school, and I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, and that was let's go back a little bit to being a kid in San Jose. What kind of life was it? And now you said that your mom was a teacher and was responsible for this program, and your dad was is. Yeah. So my mom actually was not the principal of my program, but she was of the neighboring program. So, but my mom and my dad both enforced this idea of keeping the culture alive. And so my dad worked in politics, but he was also working at Comcast.
Was he a council member or something like that?
He ran for a couple offices. He ended up being on the East Side Union School Board, which is in the east side of San Jose, and was appointed to those positions, and was on those for 4 years up until he got sick. So my dad ended up he had massive heart attack, and that affected me when that happened I was 12.
Oh, really? So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was, I say I've been living with this half my life because I have.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad got...
How old are you now, if you don't mind?
I'm 25.
25, okay. So that's half your life for real.
Yeah, half my life, yeah. So my dad got sick, and that kind of stopped a lot of what I had been doing. Like, as a child, I had a lot of dreams as being a teacher, math teacher, probably, which goes on later, like, to talk about that stuff. But, yeah, I wanted to be a math teacher. I wanted to, I guess I would say I was a very compassionate, outgoing child up until my dad got sick.
Can you pick a story or, like, one travesura or something that you did when you were, like, young, that just to give us an idea of what kind of a person? Sorry. All right, sorry. So can you tell us a story or something that you could pick from, like, when you were younger, like a travesura or something that you did that that'll give us an idea of the young character of little Loquita?
Yeah. So like this, like, so I guess like starting kindergarten, first grade, or when my memories, I start remembering my memories of like what I would do, what I do. But when I was in first grade, what happened? I think like a lot of the things I remember is like my parents asking me to clean my room, and I would be like, okay, I'll clean my room. So I go to my room. We weren't allowed to close our doors when we were growing up, so I had my door open. I would act like I was like making piles of things, but really I was just going through everything and like trying to figure everything out. So I would read books, I would like draw. Instead of organizing everything and trying to figure out where everything was supposed to go, I would just reshuffle everything and reorganize everything. And my mom would come back and be like, okay, yeah, what about this? Do you still need this and this? And I'm like, she's like, did you look over it? Like, did you see if you... I was like, I mean, it works. Does it bring
you joy?
Yeah, I was like, I mean, yeah, it did for like 2 minutes, like 10 minutes ago. But not just that, but like, then I'd take it to the school setting, right? Like, I would go to school, and I was very quiet. Like, I was a traviesa at school, but only like when it came to chisme. Like, I would talk a lot about, not people, but just like make jokes about the teacher or like things like this, but secretly. So that stuff. But when it came to parent-teacher conferences, my parents would come and they would talk to the teacher. This time it was first grade, and the teacher was like, oh yeah, Erika is such a wonderful student. She's so quiet, you know. She does her work. She just sits there, you know. She's just in her desk doing what she needs to do. My dad's like, who? Like, you're talking about Erika? And she goes, yeah, of course. He goes, are you sure? Like, I don't think that's who you're talking about. Yeah. And it was because my dad knew who I was. Like, yeah. And it wasn't that I was talking a lot. Like, that was my sister. She wouldn't give me time to talk.
Were you guys in the same class?
No. My sister.
Oh, but at home.
Yeah, at home. So, like, when it was at home, she was talking, blah, 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 all this, like, talking my parents' ears off, and I was in the corner, like, building things, concocting plans.
Is your sister older or younger?
She's older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's, like, 3.5.
So did you feel like she got all the attention?
No. I guess that comes up now because, like, my family wants to give me a chance to talk, but at the end of the day, I think I didn't really care. Like, I was in my own little world.
Like being in your own head, yeah. Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Were you drawing that young, or did you start drawing and doing things creatively, or?
Yeah, now that I think about, I think every day I start remembering like a memory of when I would draw or make something or build something. But yeah, I was documenting things, drawing from I think like kindergarten, preschool up until I was like, when they taught us how to write and draw and things like that.
Did you think or when did you decide that you knew you were going to be an artist? Was it in high school or after?
Yeah, I was in high school. Because like elementary school, I went to the dual immersion program, so a lot of the emphasis was on language, math, science, being the best at both. Being the best at both languages in all those subjects was kind of the focus. So art was kind of in there, not really. 6th grade, now that I remember, like I said, 6th grade, we had an art class. I had an art elective. It was Mr. Steinberg, and this was at like August Boger, like, you know, the Mount Pleasant in San Jose, like the kids did not want to fucking do art. Like, can I cuss? The kids did not want to do art. Like, they're like, Mr. Steinberg, like, how do I do this? And I'm just like, drawing, coloring, like, we learned how to use a kiln that year. So
that's awesome,
yeah, that, I think that, which is amazing because it was in that community, right? Like, there were those resources for us. And so, but and then it was high school. I had my first kind of real art class. It was my sophomore year. And I remember we did a project using grids. Like, we used grids to, you know, how you draw to, like, make it super proportionate to to what the picture looks like.
Like the mural
like a mural technique, like a Chuck Close technique, like that type of work is what we were looking at. So
that's cool.
that I remember doing that in high school and taking the piece home to my parents, and they're like, what is, like, how did you do this? I was like, I literally just copied the picture with the squares. And they're like, oh my god, do another one. So at that point I realized that I could follow directions really well when it came to art. So I think that's what got me interested into the idea of that, like, art, guidelines of art, or like how do you become an artist using these guidelines or whatever. So I think it was high school. And then I took AP art in my senior year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What did that entail?
We had to create a portfolio of breathwork.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that we were going to send to colleges.
Oh, wow.
You know, since it's me, another travesa thing, I didn't finish, like, the actual portfolio to send in to the AP team. Like, I just took the class and, like, got credit for it. I never got a grade for it because I didn't finish the breath portion. But it makes me think a lot about, like, how I finish work now and how I'm able to finish work now. Like, before it wasn't a commitment that I was willing to put in, but now I am. So
why do you think that switched?
I think it had to do with the influence in my life and going back home and drawing and doing all this.
Were you good at doing homework in high school? No, not me neither. Yeah. So that was my downfall. Right.
So when I got home, I wanted to do the art homework, but I didn't want to do the writing for history. And this was a college prep, like this. Okay, so I don't know if this is the right to tell either, but, like, presentation is the high school that I went to. They didn't want to name it presentation college prep. but yeah, so it's presentation high school, but it was college prep, just like Bellarmine, which was across the way.
Okay.
That's BCP. So Bellarmine and presentation are kind of hand in hand when it comes to curriculum. So when it comes to college prep, they were making sure that we were writing MLA format essays and papers and writing 13 to 15 page papers by senior year and things like that. So not only did I have to worry about what I wanted to do when I got older, but I had to worry about, like, doing the homework for it. And I guess get personal, but I was diagnosed with ADHD in high school. I question it to this day because I'm like, was I? Or was I just not interested in doing what I was doing? Did they medicate you? What was that?
Were you medicated?
I was for a while. And again, still trying to process that because I'm like, did that do me well? I want to know. It was Concerta.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah. I always wanted to try something. But of course I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just...
it was a one, I think it was a really low dosage of it wasn't Adderall, it wasn't Ritalin.
But still, sometimes I think like, just like telling a young kid, hey, there's something wrong with you. So we're gonna have to give you stuff to make you normal.
Yeah.
So that feeling of, like, feeling like, whoa, what the fuck is wrong with me, or like, why do I have to do this? It does give, you know, a human complex about something. So I mean, so I always wonder about that with young kids. I always feel like kid is gonna be a kid. Like, let the kid, you know, have fun. But I don't know how much trouble you were.
I don't think I was. I think I just didn't do, like, the expectation. Okay, so this is where you say, do you think that your sister got more? Whatever you asked, like, about that.
And they're listening now. So.
Yeah, they're gonna be watching this. I don't. That's not what it was. I think I I was not like my sister when it came to the academic part. So she was able to finish her homework in like 2 hours. And I was still there hour 2 and
couldn't focus.
No, I literally sat there, I would do my homework, but I wasn't doing my homework.
Yeah.
I was like on Sims or something.
Yeah.
So like,
I know the vibe.
yeah, so
that's why you ended up in art school.
Yeah, probably. And like, I go to art school and everyone's like, I was diagnosed in 7th grade, 6th grade, 2nd grade.
Everybody.
It's like a support group, but
wow.
That's
awesome.
But I mean, like really though, like art was the outlet for me to escape, right? But also, I had my art teacher, Barbara Purdy, shout out to her. She was the one who let me know that there was like a career in it. And so
I was gonna say that because like in my 6th grade too, we had like ceramics and we had things like that. But it was more like, hey, little kids, here's a treat for you that you're gonna do one day. And it never felt like you could do this as a career one day. You know what I mean? So it's really important to have that person that tells you like, oh, you have the talent, you can carry this through and do this for a living. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I very appreciative of her. Her husband was a sports critic, so I guess, they're two professionals they're just very interested in the advancement of children to move forward in their profession. So having her tell me that was like, it was really, I think it cleared up a lot of things, because as soon as that happened, I went full into art.
Quote unquote gave you a purpose.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Gave me purpose to move forward in high school. So that was the moment when I had to accept that I was not gonna be like this popular girl in school. Like, I know that's weird and it's like really awkward to bring up, but I didn't want to be popular.
No, it's not awkward at all.
No. I didn't want to be popular, but I knew that if I were to really dive into art, like,
you would be
I probably wouldn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And I'd have to figure out how to do that. But I was the one who was able to mold the both of them, because then I was walking around the school, everyone was like, oh, you're the girl that could draw, you're the girl that could paint and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, like, I guess that doesn't matter. But I also did other things. Like I was on the swim team, I played basketball, so I was doing a lot of things. I was just doing art.
So when you were drawing, you were going popular.
How popular. Yeah, no. Because I was watching. Yeah, no, but I was like also watching music. I mean, I'm a weird. I mean, not a weird person, but I'm just like all over the place.
Yeah, there was something that I wanted to say about the focus, and I mean, I guess you felt the shift and you were able to like focus on things because it gave you like a larger purpose. I forgot what I was going to say, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a trip. How difficult it is to focus when you're young. Yeah. I mean, for some people, it's just extremely difficult. And I was one of those people that like I understood everything in class, but when I stepped outside of the classroom, I could not focus on homework. I just couldn't do anything, and I was late to school every single day, every single day. So I mean, I wish I didn't have that problem, but I did.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here now. But
well, I mean, we're successful people
in our own way.
Yeah. But
so all right, let me ask you that now. We'll get into your colleges and all that, but just because you brought up success, do you have, like, currently right now, having just graduated, receiving your MFA? Do you have a measurement for success, or what do you think? What does success mean to you right now?
Right now,
and don't feel like saying something is like permanent forever.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, I was gonna.
You can, this your definition of success can change daily. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it does change daily, because just having the amount of mentors that I had at Otis, seeing the difference in their careers and seeing like that I do have an option to pick and choose based off of my skills and my talents and prerequisites. Right now, I'm focused on sleeping and catching up on that.
It's important.
Because it's important. Like
you have to like clean the slate, right?
Yeah. I didn't realize, like, these past couple of weeks, I think, was I used to, in college, like my undergrad, I used to be able to just pull all-nighters and just like work all night and just do whatever. I can't do that anymore. Like I just realized how important sleep is and whatever, and how that is important when it comes to success, because if I would have done this literally the day after.
You're in your mid-20s.
But I'm saying, like, I need to learn.
You still have a lot of sleepless nights or all-nighters in your system.
But I do need the recharge.
But you do need rest, especially because you've hit a milestone. So or you've completed a milestone, not hit a milestone. You've completed a milestone, so you do need to regroup.
Yeah, and I think the recharge though is important because then that helps me in the next stage. It helps to clear my mind on what I need to do next. So I think success for me right now would be to get to know as many people as I can. Like I don't know, I shouldn't focus on like 5 years. I can have a plan for 5 or like goals for 5 years from now, but I'm not going to focus on like doing that right now, because I know that there's steps to get there, and the first step is getting to know the people that I need to get to know, and
like
creating the community that
I feel like you're saying, like, how do you know what you're going to build without building a foundation first?
Yeah,
kind of. So you need to build yourself a foundation to know what you're going to put on top of it.
Yeah, because I feel like my parents have helped a lot with that.
And once knowing who the people are in your art community, then you'll know what kind of tools you have to work with, and I don't know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's exciting, I think. I mean, I went to your MFA thesis show last week, and just extremely proud of the work you've put together, and I want to get more into that in a bit, but just that feeling of like, now what, like, I got so much work to do and stuff. Of course, rest, get your head together straight, but yeah, it's exciting to be in that position, I imagine.
Yeah, no, my body's been resting, but my mind hasn't. Yeah. Like, I have so many ideas for different things to do. Yeah. I think just within the last couple months, I've been able to organize myself to understand how to move forward. So I think that's been good. But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I think.
So tell us a little bit about how, I mean, being in the art AP program, I'm sure is what helped you get into art school and where you went.
Yeah, I think, because that helped me create a portfolio for myself. Funny enough, I did get into Otis for my undergrad, and I didn't want to accept it because my sister was at LMU down the street, and I was like, oh no, I think I'm good.
You're hilarious.
I'm kidding. That's not true.
What was she studying?
Communications.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So she was out there for a while. Loves LA. Yeah. And then, but I also got accepted to St. John's. Okay. And so New York City, I was like, nice. I basically had to.
It just sounded like, wow.
Yeah, it sounded like, I can figure it out over there. So I basically had to create a PowerPoint presentation for my parents to go. Cause,
really?
No, but I mean, basically I had to come up with points of like, pros and cons, like why LA and why New York and why not LA. Why this place with nobody that I know over there when I could just go to LA where my sister was and a lot of family close by. So yeah, the portfolio helped me get accepted to. I also got accepted to like other art schools, and it was all for art. So at that moment, I had like committed. I was like, I'm going in for fine arts. I'm an artist. Everybody, like my mom was posting on Facebook, like my little artist, like all these things where everyone knew me at that point. And so I pushed myself forward in that, and then learning the language of like having a portfolio, having a breadth of work. And that was all due to my teacher in high school. She taught me all of that, and
that's awesome.
So yeah, I got into the schools, and
so tell us about New York then. I mean,
so New York was crazy. But like,
how old were you when you landed?
So I'm a young baby because I'm October.
Yeah.
So yeah. Libra. So I was born in 97, so I was 17 when I went. It was 2015.
So in September
It was August, September.
Wow.
Culture shock, but not really, because as soon as I got there, I felt like I should have been there my whole life. Met a lot of people from LA, met a lot of people from Maryland, met a lot of people from New York City, like Queens. Yeah, a lot of people, mostly from the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Okay.
So a lot of people from DC, a lot of people from Maryland.
The DMV.
It was funny because, yeah, right? It was funny because St. John's recruited a lot of minority kids from all those states, from California, Illinois, Maryland, DC, so all from all these Florida, all these different places. So everyone, like, the Black and Latino kids were coming to St. John's to like go to school, and we were giving scholarships and all these, and so everyone was a part of the residence area. And but the fine arts program was very small, and predominantly white people. So I think I was like the only Latina in there.
Really?
There's a couple Black students, but I was like the only, and that was the culture shock, because I was like, oh my God, I thought there was going to be more like, because I had learned a little bit about like Ana Mendieta at that point. Like I was like, is there going to be more Latinas out here? Because it's New York City. I was like, is there going to be, right? I was like, going to be like Cuban artists or Puerto Rican, Argentinian, Dominican. Like I thought there was going to be all of that, and no, I mean, most of the people in my program were, white men.
Wow.
So still, and it was 2015, and I was like, oh my God, okay. But I hadn't known about any of that. Like the history, I hadn't taken any of those courses. So St. John's was huge on art history. So we had to take an art history class each semester. And we had to take theology class each semester. And we had to take a philosophy class. So it was super Catholic, private institution. So we had to have all of what is it, like the, I don't know, that type of education. What's it called? Like the historically Greek church indoctrination.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, we had to take all of those classes. So religious, philosophical, like all up in the clouds type of things. But I mean,
what'd you learn from that?
I think it went a lot into my art, a lot about who I am. It confused me a lot at first, because like philosophy is not easy. Philosophy is like, you learn about Socrates and Plato, and you learn about metaphor and space, body, mind, all those different things that I think go into my work now.
To think and to question.
Yeah, which I think is a lot of what I like to do. So, but I had to hit a hump, like, so because high school was so tough for me, and with the homework and all of this, like there was basically there was a responsibility factor, but like no teacher was gonna yell at you for not coming to class. No teacher was gonna yell at you for not doing your homework. They're just gonna give you an F. Like they're just gonna put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 all up in your grade book, and you're gonna find out 3 weeks later that you're failing.
Nobody's gonna call your mom. Yeah.
Right. No one's gonna call your mom. That you're failing 3 weeks later, like all this stuff. Yeah. But I'm not gonna air out my dad's business. But he has his own story, and I was always taught that story of like, you don't want to be like me. You don't want to give up on school because you feel like you're the only one that's doing this, as who you are and all this stuff. So I kind of muscled it up. I mean, I slept a lot. Like I felt like I was very depressed in my college years. But going to the studio was probably the best thing that I ever did for myself in my undergrad. And my friends who actually they came to my thesis show, they could tell you like, oh, Erika was always in the studio, like, and now they tell me like, I understand why you were always in the studio, because I mean, what else were you gonna do? I wasn't gonna break down in my room and cry. I was gonna go do something about it and make something. But I still wasn't doing my homework. Like I was just making work, and I just wasn't doing my homework. So all the papers, like, I mean, I was okay. So that's not that.
I mean, you finished school, so you had to have done some work.
I was doing my homework, but it was all a blur for some reason. Like, the highlights to me is the work that I made, and the people that I met, and I have a lot of crazy stories. But when it came to the learning and the art, as much trouble as I had, the one thing that I could grasp was like this idea of having to unlearn a lot of what I was learning from when I was growing up.
Having to unlearn a lot of
things, like, because
what do you mean unlearning things that you learned growing up? Do you mean art things or you mean life things?
Life and art. Because I think, growing up, art, like you said, is like always like a treat. Like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But then in art school, going to undergrad and being in art history classes, it was like, this was a mode of communication, exchange, language, visual communication, like down. Art, everything, right? You already know. Everybody already knows this. I mean, everybody doesn't already know.
No, not everybody knows.
But yes. But I started learning those things where art wasn't just a way to have fun. Art's not just something like, my family always is like, oh, you're such a good painter. But like at this point in life, I've got to be like, I am an artist. Yeah. I'm not a painter. I'm sorry, but I'm not. Because there's, awesome. The language of that is so different, and sometimes you have to distinguish the differences between everything, because I think when I went to undergrad, I learned that when it comes to art history, you have to learn how to distinguish the differences, because during the Renaissance, you were making stained glass, or you were painting, or you were sculpting, or you were doing, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm an artiste, this, and you're doing everything multimedia, but like there's still a language that goes on where you have to talk about whether you're a multimedia artist, you're an installation artist, you're a performance artist, you're this. So I think the language, like learning that in the art history was important to me.
Would you give yourself a title at this point, before artist? Or just artist is cool right now?
I'm a performance artist.
Performance artist, right.
Because I think that entails like putting up installations and like installing things, and I know that at my you talked about my MFA show. There's like, I don't know if you saw, but at one point I had to bring in the ladder so that I could fix the video. Yeah. That wasn't planned, but
it became a part of it.
It became a part of it, and like different things like that where.
So, I want to mention something about your installation later, but let's talk about so then you finished New York. Before we get into Otis, and then you took a year off in between New York and Otis. But if you could think of like the biggest takeaway that you took from New York, what would you say that was?
The professionalism in the art world. So we did a lot of art walks, a lot of gallery walks in Chelsea, down in Meatpacking District, in Tribeca, like everywhere, that all the art districts that you can imagine in New York we were going to. Like we went up to the cloisters, we went up, so all of the different places that I have seen art shown and how art can be displayed and installed, the professionalism of it all, and I think also the drive in New York, the drive to sell and make work is pretty crazy over there, and just the advertising of art, just like the culture of art too, because it's a very historical. It's within a very historical context, so very Eurocentric, and I think what I got from there is my classical training, my classical education, and the education in the classical art history, like the art.
I guess you could say that from New York, you really were able to grasp the enormity of the art world, or in a larger,
I was able to
gestalt.
Yeah, I was able to grasp maybe the fundamentals a little bit, because here in LA you can get wild, like you can use those techniques and then get wild, because LA is LA, but like the history in LA is different than it would be told in New York City. Also because of my roots, like You know, they're not talking about Chicano art. They're not talking about.
Yeah.
They're talking about pre-Columbian art, but it's in the context of pre-Columbian art, like pre-Columbus. So, you know, I mean, they talk about Frida. They talk about, but they're not talking about Patsy Valdez. They're not talking about Frank Romero. They're not talking about
contemporaries. Yeah,
they're not talking about those artists. And so, I think learning the beginnings of the fabrication of an art world is in New York because it's the origins, the basis. I think everyone wants to say that's the center of the art world. I think it's the center of the beginnings of what art history was starting to tell. I guess I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent now. But you know what I mean.
We could all take from that a lot from what you just said. So, and then you came to LA. I mean, first you went back home, right?
Yeah,
and how did you decide to MFA at Otis?
So, I was stuck again because, I mean, my whole life I've been in school. So I was telling you this, like, just 20 years now, stop, now no school, now I'm just gonna, like, live my life. But I thought it was over then, in 2019. I was like, okay, I'm graduated, I have a BFA. But once I started, like, okay, so this was in 2020, the start of the pandemic. I feel like this was, like, really when I got into social media and, like, this, like, looking at people posting, and fine art started becoming, like, a really big topic on social media for some reason. And so I started looking. Well,
your algorithm took you that way.
See, I'm just, well, when it comes to this, I'm not very technologically savvy, so, like, I don't know. Shit's popping up. That's what. Yeah. But no, so fine art, everything just started popping up on my feeds, and I think this is when. Was this when? No, this was not when. Okay, give me a second. I remember, because this was hard because I was going through a lot this time. I think I told you, but it's hard to remember. So I graduated, came back home. Yeah. Grandpa passed away, like all these things. So that happened at the end of 2019. So I had that whole year, I was going through a breakup, all these things. I had a little break, but I wasn't focusing on my art because I was like, what am I doing? Pandemic started. My dad got the call that he's getting a heart transplant. So my dad gets a heart transplant. That happens in April. And then I start realizing that I need to do something with my life because I can't just be sitting here drinking White Claws during the pandemic, making TikToks, and watching TikToks all day, right? So I started looking into programs. Cal Arts was one of them. Art Center was one of them. And they were sending me letters. Like, I think I had signed up for like a post-grad type newsletter from different schools. Because no one really advised me to go to a grad school in my undergrad. As much as I heard around me, my professors were advising everybody else to apply to them, but to me, nobody was telling me. So I was like, I guess I gotta get my shit together, get my things together, get my stuff together. But so when I was at home, I was looking up different programs, Cal Arts, Art Center, Otis, and I finally was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna apply. At that time, I was working at Great America. I was doing the makeup. I was for Halloween Haunt.
Really?
And for Winterfest.
That's hilarious.
So I was doing that, and then the pandemic started. So that's like everything happened. So right in the middle of the pandemic, I was like, oh, actually, that's not true. I got accepted right at the beginning of the pandemic. So I got accepted to Otis, and they were, these are the requirements for COVID safety and all these things and and my dad got the call for the heart transplant. So then I was like, oh my God. So I deferred my acceptance to the next semester. So instead of going in the fall of 2020, I went in the spring of 2021. Wow. And throughout that time is I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get my shit together. I'm gonna be I'm going to my I'm gonna go to a master program. I need to really think about what I want to do there. So not like I'm knowing just a little bit about the program, knowing a little bit about a master's program, knowing that it was an interdisciplinary program. I just started thinking of things and ideas that would get me started. During the pandemic, I actually did I did a little project where I collected signs from around the area. And, you know, everybody was picketing and everybody was out protesting the police. You know, ACAB. Can't say that political, but no. But when everyone was out protesting on the streets during you know, everything that was going on, George Floyd, BLM, I created a project for immunocompromised groups of people because my dad, he's like, I want to be out there. Like, he was watching everything on the news. He was still healing and everything. He's like, I want to watch everything on the, I don't want to be here on the news. I want to go outside. I want to go see things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put out a project where I'm going to ask people to make picket signs for people who can't go out there, collect them, and then take them out to my friend who was going out to go protest. So yeah, I ended up collecting all of those, and over like 150 that I collected and then took out to my friend. Yeah, and it was fun. I was driving around the whole day. I was like, what else am I gonna do? Like, I'm just...
That's cool, like that type of art that is more like, I guess, a performance art, or like some kind of idea that manifests out of putting things together and sharing, which is, you know, most people think that, you know, art is just like a drawing or a painting or, you know, a sculpture. But how did you start to like get into this kind of art? Yeah. If that is I don't know if that's a good question. But.
Yeah, it is, because it goes into talking about social practice. Okay. So going into Otis, I applied to be a part of the social practice emphasis, which is social practice. The program was created by Suzanne Lacey at Otis, I'm pretty sure, and she was a part of that. And so social practice is very, very new, you know, way to make art, and it's with the community, and it's using your body and performance to get the point.
It's something that had been around for a while, but they finally packaged it into something that can be taught at schools. Yeah,
so that's why when I came in, it was a full curriculum that I was going into and learning about and learning the discourse and the theory behind it. So yeah, I think it's important for people to know about it, because what I was doing in that summer when during the protests, a lot of people were like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing this. And I was like, this is fun. Like, this is, and there was a point where I was at my friend's house. We laid them all out and like took a picture of it, and it looked like a mural in a way, right? So it was cool to bring the community together for one project, to make people feel good. And like, there was just a bunch of people that followed each other back on social media, and like then I saw each other, then like hanging out with each other, and it was like I kind of brought people together between like this project and what was going on, and like basically the premise of what was happening and the principle. It was cool to see that.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you come to LA and you start Otis, and culture shock? No.
Honestly,
I doubt it.
No.
How was that?
The Otis was a culture shock.
Oh, really? It was? Yeah. Oh, shit. Tell me about it.
Because I had been home for so long, right?
And during the pandemic.
And I had been in New York for so long. Yeah, just coming back to a higher education institution, a higher educational institution where it was just like compact with a bunch of scholars and, you know, academia, and I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. So it was a culture shock in that regard, because I was like, I don't think I know as much as these people. But coming to LA, no. Like, living in LA was fine. But I wasn't living in East LA for I like the first year. So I was living by Otis, living on my own.
The LAX campus, or
yeah, LAX campus. There's another one.
Well, where you had your studios.
Oh, Culver. Yeah, we had a Culver City. Yeah, we had a Culver City studio campus, but yeah. So I was usually in my studio, or I was in the apartment, like the on-campus housing, off-campus housing, whatever it was. And then through a faculty member, Cade Twist, I met Raul Baltazar. And the rest is history.
You started your residency at Cheeseburger.
That Cheeseburger. No, but no. When I first got here, it was a culture shock. At Otis specifically, right? I was the only Mexican American student.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that you moved into Cheeseburger was fucking awesome, because like that's where you met a lot of people right now, right? I mean, it's that place alone is like a really good place to just connect and be around artists and exchange ideas sometimes, or sometimes just have fun, but it's a good place.
Yeah. No, and that started when Raul was in the Bunny House, because we were doing the No Rona.
Oh, you were in the Bunny House too? Oh, that's right.
Yes, we did the No Rona.
Okay.
That's where I met you.
Yeah, I didn't.
You
go
weren't there,
no.
but you were around for it, weren't you?
I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't know. When did we meet, Virgo?
I think we first met at the Cheeseburger. Yeah.
No way.
Well, I don't remember.
Whatever.
Honestly, you don't remember.
You're breaking
either.
my heart.
You don't remember either.
Yes, I do. It was. You weren't on your bike for No Rona.
Were you guys wearing like costumes and stuff?
Yes, I was Selena. And Vivi was like baby Selena.
I can't remember, but
anyway.
Yeah.
The first day I remember though was we were at the Bunny House, and he's like, "Hey Rafa, you need to come by and film this movie for us."
Yeah.
We were just all down the street filming the. Do you remember that?
Oh, when we ended up outside.
Yeah, like he was just like
of the Bunny House
trying to film on the street.
Yeah. Those.
Anyway, so.
Those filming, what should we call it?
The murals.
Filming odysseys of Raul Baltazar.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I have met a lot of people.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me about Otis, and I guess if you could put it into a sentence, like what was your biggest takeaway from Otis as a young artist? I mean, this is so fresh, so you got to come up with. I mean, whatever it is, you don't have to. But.
I was gonna be a narcissist and say prior preparation prevents poor performance.
Okay,
but I would no. I'm kidding. Okay, yeah. So but seriously, Yeah. I think, and I can never explain things in one sentence because I go from here to there and all this silverware, but. I think the one thing that I have taken away from Otis is, that I was slacking off, like on my grind, like on my motivation and my drive to professionally be an artist or to professionally go out there and show my work. I think I had a different idea of what that was before, and Otis has changed my idea about how to make a vision come true or how to make a vision happen. In whether it has to do with like grant writing or getting what you want. I think Otis has really taught me how to get me what I want.
That's awesome.
And it has given me a lot of confidence to do it for myself.
That is so important, to be able to like think of an idea, have a vision, and then know how to get to that end point. I mean, I say that because for me that's difficult. I only know how to start things, but I don't know how to see like an end point sometimes. I just know like, all right, I'm gonna start doing this and let's see what happens from here. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I remember before this thesis show, even like 4 months ago, before I started the grid paintings, like I would look at my studio and everything was half done. And it wasn't until like I had to motivate myself to like, no, like this is how you're gonna see it later, so just finish it, do it.
So because I just went to your show last week, I want to, this is something that I haven't done on any podcast, but if you're watching this on YouTube and not on Spotify listening, I do want to show some of your pieces that you had at your show, and I want to talk about them. So, of course, I don't have them here, but you're going to know the piece that I'm talking about. So, you mentioned your grid pieces, and well, I want to start like at the beginning of your show. Like, which piece did you do first?
Tracking my memories, number 1. So
it was the grids, right?
It was out of all of them,
yeah.
The whole show.
Yeah.
It was the cheeseburger.
Okay. So your little models, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and what inspired that and how those came to fruition.
Yeah. So one night, if I must say, you know, up in the clouds, I was like cutting up some cardboard, and no, this is just like the easy story, but no, I was having a really hard time with trying to figure out what I wanted to do with architecture, the buildings that I see, and then the textures that I see on the buildings of where I was living at the time, which I'm still living there, Boyle Heights, cheeseburger, and you know, the stucco, the molding, the what's it called, the plastering, the way everything is kind of settled on the ground was interesting to me. So I was trying to figure out a way to do that. I tried plaster, I tried different ways to mold things to make, you know, an architectural setup. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to what I know, because I used to make little things, like my mom could probably tell you, like because she worked at the school, I would used to make little things with cardboard, like a car or like a little store or something like that. This time I was like, I feel like I can make them really small. Like if I just diagram everything, like if I just do that, I can do that. And I thought I was going to be really fast. I was like, I've done this before so many times, like I could just do it. But what I wanted to get done was, it took longer than I even expected. But what came out of it was the sculptures, and I used hot glue and packing materials, cardboard, and then I had found some 17 magazines at the bunny house in the recycling bin, because, you know, everything that was happening at that time,
was packaged.
They were taking, well, they, you know, pushed everyone out pretty much of that neighborhood, that whatever. But so I got the magazines from the recycling bin, and it was literally like a 50 stack, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta take these. Took them back, cut them up, but I cut up only like the flat colors, so it would almost resemble the stucco on the buildings, and so ripped them up with my hands. And again, like I said, the flat colors, because, you know, when you come around here and you come east side, there's a flat color on the wall, but you can see the texture of it. So I wanted to make that happen. So that's what came out of it. That was the first one, cheeseburger. And cheeseburger, you know, where we live, and made this little slant thing. And so I wanted to make sure I was using cardboard, you know, however I could. Roll it up, tear it, do whatever I could. And
if you had to explain your pieces, what would you say they were? Or how would you explain your piece, like, in an artist statement?
They are, and I've done this so many times before, they're sculptures, architectural sculptures of East LA, sculptures of East LA architecture using cardboard, packing materials, chicken wire, and magazine collage to reinforce the idea of resilience and strength within the community and within the communities that I'm representing.
Yeah, And there's the whole rascuache thing about it too. That is just
or domesticana.
Domesticana.
Yeah, which
what's that?
is Amalia Mesa Baines, which is her counter to rascuachismo.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I never heard it.
Domesticana.
I'll look it up.
I haven't finished it, but you know, it's her response, basically saying rascuache is toxic masculine.
Oh.
Is a toxic masculine interpretation of ready-made or DIY or like the craft, because at the end of the day, in the house, who the hell is making stuff out of the corn husks and, you know, things like that, like little muñecas and.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
So
I want to look that up.
Yeah. She
Domesticana.
I think it's because it's domestication.
Yeah.
But it's a play
Domesticación.
on. Yeah.
I'll look it up. And then you made a number of pieces. They're all beautiful.
Yeah. A couple. So I want to say that most of them were referencing your photos in your second photo book. The landscapes and land dwellers.
Yeah, that was really cool to see all of them in one place at once, because you had shown me them before through pictures, but it was cool to see them all on their little pedestals.
Yeah, so the pedestals that I had were the tomato cages.
Yeah, and you were balancing them.
Yeah.
Which I thought was crazy, because somebody almost knocked one over.
I think,
one point.
Which is amazing, because my professor, he told me that they're all going to be on the ground by the end of the show.
Yeah.
And I think one person knocked it over, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. And I grabbed it and I put it back on, and they're like, who are you? And I was like, so I would say it's a little touch of magical physics.
Yeah. I also like that you used cardboard all over, like, the walls.
Oh,
so it wasn't white walls, it was cardboard walls.
Yes, and if I could have, I would have done the whole of that inside. It would have been all of cardboard.
Yeah, but that was really cool though. I dig that a lot, and it gave the whole place a different vibe. Like just standing in there, like surrounded by cardboard when you went into that little room, was a really interesting feel. What was, from all of your pieces, what was the next step that you took?
From those. So the paintings that were hanging on the cardboard walls. So the family ones? When I grow up, I want to be an alcoholic. When I grow up, that.
So those pieces are so dope. When I first saw them, I was like, wow. Because I had seen you do a couple of drawings and stuff, but I had never seen any kind of painting that you had done at that point. And I really love those paintings, and I've said it to you. I mean, I'll show the painting here. Love this painting so much. The other one called The After Party. That was my favorite.
They're actually both.
Oh, they go together.
So there's a series called When I Grow Up, I Want to Be an Alcoholic. But they have subtitles. Yeah. Because everybody calls them by their subtitle.
By their individual subtitles. Yeah. So tell me about that series.
Yeah, if I can be super vulnerable, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
You can be super vulnerable.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But again, my whole family's going to be watching this, so I'm going to give tidbits. But, so last summer was kicked off by something really crazy. As much as I was, you asked about success earlier, and, I felt I was successful. I was doing great. I was on this. I was a little bit too high up on the high horse. I was, a little bit too me creí muy muy and all this stuff, so I was humbled a little bit, and at that moment, I had to start thinking a lot about my family history with alcohol, and being around my family with alcohol, and how I behaved myself around alcohol, and just different things like that. So there was this one night I went to the studio, and because I always get this from Raul all the time. He's like, do you just go into the studio and you just get all messed up and you just do your work? And I'm like, no. And then I think it was that day when I was like, I do that. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let out a bunch of ideas. I'm just gonna go all out and just put paint on canvas, and this on this and this on this, and So I did that for like 2 to 3 days. I just like put material on material and mixed it up and did all these things. And I was like, you know what, I'm going back to painting. So I on these unstretched canvases, I projected the videos, the home video. Okay, so there are home videos in my show. Those home videos I ended up projecting onto the wall, like mural style. Outlined everything, and then once everything was outlined, went back in with paint and like kind of stretched canvas, went back in with paint and all that. But that was through 3 days of not an alcohol bender, because at that point I was already sober, but another bender. But but just like it was a 3-day marathon of me just playing around with materials, and but then me going back to what I knew, which is what I didn't, what I know now is I wasn't going back to what I knew. I was actually like reforming what I knew. So that was the next step, was me realizing that playing around with material actually does help me think about the next outcome. And the fact that throughout that whole time was me trying to almost dissect why I felt like I needed to drink alcohol. Throughout that whole time, I was like, I really could use a beer right now to finish this off. But I was like, no, because at that time I wasn't driving, so I was like, whatever. So I was just there. I was like, I'll drink, and but I didn't. And I was like, no, next color. I just put the color down. I spray painted a bunch of things. Had a meeting with Roll the next day, and he's like, yeah, this is, I don't, what is this? I'm like, oh my God, what? But it wasn't until like I had to systematically think about what I was doing. Like, there I'm getting like Roll, no, but like systematically I had to get, he caught wind of me. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but at that moment I had to realize, like, if I was going to play around with material, I was going to have to think about it very systematically. Not just contextually, but conceptually. Like, it had to be a system. So from those were like a loose system, because I outlined everything, and then I painted within the lines. But I also went outside of the lines, and I also painted from what I remembered watching the videos as, and so it became about memory and all this. Then the next one were the grid paintings. So the next ones were...
When I saw the grid paintings, too, that was another moment where I was like, what is Erica on? Because it's awesome. I mean, when you flipped to the paintings, I was like, wow. And then you flipped into the grids, I was like, wow. So me as an outsider, just watching you post these things and share them with me, it just made me excited that you were trying things, that you were doing things. You know, it's so cool to see and refreshing. So I had kind of like a what is that fucking word? No, I guess I was like vicariously like living through you and your creativity at that moment. Like, watching you succeed at new things was so much fun for me to see in your Instagram feed. So yeah, and the grids were something completely different that I had not seen from you or from anybody that I know currently, but so cool. It also showed me that you were thinking a lot, like, and you wanted your mind to be still. Was that a part of it? I don't know. Tell us about those grid paintings.
Yeah. So the next thing that I just thought of was these grids. Well, I've been playing Sims a lot. Like, no, since I was like 11, 11 years old. And so building the houses has like always been the thing for me.
That's crazy.
In all sorts of aspects, like building the houses physically and all this, like whatever. But like, I wanted to play it so bad, and I couldn't, because I didn't have my PC. It wouldn't work on my PC. I hadn't gotten an Xbox yet, so my friend, Kavan gave me an Xbox, but like, I hadn't had a console. I had not been able to play it for like years and years and years. So I was like, I was fiending for it. I was like, I need to play this. But I also needed to do my shit. Like, I also needed to make my work for like school. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, what if I had also been thinking of, oh no, that's not true. I was gonna create these digital floor plans almost as like an outline for my sculptures. So I wanted to create these floor plans so that I knew how to make the big one, like all of these out of memory. So kind of like you know how Mike Kelly had created this little world where some moments there were like you couldn't really see the memories there, but there was a lot of detail in this. I kind of wanted to go off with that idea and be like, I wanted to make this building off of memory, but the painting came out. So the digital painting is what the idea came out was. I'm gonna make this as a physical thing, but I had shown someone the digital painting of the grid, which is what it looks like now, but it was painting, and they're like, no, this is a painting. Like you need to make this into a painting. I was like, all right, oh my god, I got it. I was like, the grid too, and it was Raul, and I was like, hey, I was like, the grid too. He's like, yeah, I mean, if you could do it, like you got to figure out how to make it really tight and like all this stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll try to figure it out. So the next thing I did in my studio was, and this was a mistake because I ended up finding a real good system on how to make them. But it first started out with me laying like this unstretched canvas on the wall and putting down color and then just going in with masking tape and just like straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. But I started realizing like you can't make a straight line with masking tape unless you really like mark it out. So I mean I just started creating a whole system for this that I mean, it was so intriguing to me because it reminded me of making that Sims house, but it also cleared my mind, like you said. Like it almost like made me not think about anything.
Because you meditate, you can't focus on anything else, so it takes away all of your other stuff, and boom.
Yeah, so I almost created I created a routine, a meditation for myself. That at the end of the day, Raul looked at them. He's like, "What? How are you doing this? Like, this is crazy." And I'm like, I guess this is like, I don't need to be medicated anymore. You just put me to work, commission me to do one of these, and I'll sit there, you know.
You become like your own assembly line.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's how I describe it to people.
I love that.
My practice is an assembly line.
This is silly, but I kind of can relate that to when I get a big IKEA project. I'm gonna start to assemble everything. I love those things. I just put things in order. Anyways, I have my own system. Those pieces are beautiful. So, not just the like lines and everything that just take your mind places or force you to focus and think. I know that they're shapes of houses, right? And probably houses that you grew up in, or maybe memories that you had in certain houses. They take me places. Well, your choices of colors too are very intriguing. Is the word I want to say. Yeah. You mentioned that they're places. Well, two of them are. One of them is my high school like center, so where the cafeteria was, like a communal space, right? And then there was another one that was the whole building K through. No, it wasn't K. It was like first grade through 8th grade building from my middle school, which I don't think I mentioned this, but my 7th and 8th grade I went to a Catholic school too, St. John Vianney in the east side of San Jose. And the tracking my mistakes #1 is my Nana's house in San Jose. And then the odd one out is my house, like my parents' house. Now I can say that, my parents' house, my house too, but growing up, my house growing up. And then the one in the green one with the pink stripes, it's called, what is it called again? Delay on the Q train. Delay on the Q train.
It's Delay on the Q train.
Oh, Delay on the Q train.
And it's actually the apartment of my ex's. It's the layout of my ex's apartment in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Brooklyn.
Yeah. So
that was the first piece that you posted too, and those colors are popping.
Yeah.
Those colors are so popping.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks. Yeah. So the colors are funny because I wanted to make them how I remembered the floors to look. So like just like the really muted carpet, like the muted beige carpet, and like But it's funny because most of them are shag carpets, but I flattened all the colors out so you can't really see the texture.
I want to mention a little bit about your video installation, and I'm gonna play a little video right here of the wire. Like where it was so janky that I loved it. Like your Mac extension cord, like reaching off to the side, and then like going up on top of the little display area in your Mac or your computer up there, and then coming inside to see the cool video, which was cool, and you could see that that's where you took the stills from for your paintings. Really cool, really cool. But yeah, I just loved seeing the wire sticking up. But it's part of the aesthetic of the cardboard and everything. And for me, it was perfect. I really dug it. It's not like,
Yeah, it's funny because those are the things that when people tell me they like those little quirky things that I could tell it's you. I'm like, that is so funny because those are the things that I try to hide so much that I'm like, I don't want to show this, but I liked it too. And people were telling me how much it reminded them of like being in their house and they have to do everything they can to reach that cord up to where it needs to go.
And is that something also like that Otis teaches? Because I was just having this conversation last week with Alan Nakagawa that like everything that he does, like you can see his hand in it no matter what he creates. Like it feels very handmade. And your entire exhibit had that feel. So I wonder if that's something that Otis encourages or
yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the meetings, the individual meetings I've had and critiques, I've always been encouraged to show my hand because also for me, I think my philosophy when it comes to art is I don't want to buy something and put it up and like oh, I made this. Like, no, I spent $90 on that and then I put it up. I want to show that. Like, I'd rather show my hand, but it is encouraged by the school because I think it shows a craftsmanship that I think is celebrated in the art world, especially in LA, because a lot of work is created that way. I also noticed that I'm also discouraged from doing that. Like specifically the wire. If the professor that had critiqued my show were there, he would have said take it down. Like, take it down right now. I'm sure Raul said the same thing. Take it down. Like, what is that? But I mean, I think there are different ways of thinking, and then there are different ways of thinking about intention, and whether I intended to have the wire going up.
But it was the only option you had, I'm sure, right?
So then that comes to the point of that. Then that's the concept, right? It's like I'm always going to be using whatever I have.
You have to use what you have.
Yeah. Right? So I'm going to ironically use it. Ironically, my hand is always in it, but it doesn't mean that I want it to be in there or that it's encouraged to be in there. But a lot of the times, like for ironic reasons, yes, they encourage you to use it. If you have a reason why you're using it, yes. And I think every time I have a reason as to why I'm doing it. And if I don't have a reason, I have a plan B as to why I'm using it. So I think that's what Otis encourages is like, if you don't know why it's there, at least have a plan B as to know, like later explain why it's there so that you can almost BS your way out of it. But I mean, I guess that's part of like the attitude and the personality of the artist. No, it's dependent on the artist, right?
Of course.
Like, is that your attitude in art making? Is that your philosophy? Is that your thing? And who said this? Someone said, Renee, one of my mentors, Renee, she said, I don't like using like that tongue-in-cheek thing, but like there's a lot of humor in this that I wouldn't be able to pinpoint, but only in the decision making and in the consideration of the material, which I'm not sure she said that, but it's like a culmination of what a lot of people said. But yeah, that it's like the hand, you can tell that the hand is just funny. Like there's a funny way to put it in there.
Well, you're a funny person. We're winding down now to the last minutes. Is there something that we haven't talked about that you would like to mention?
I don't think so.
Well, let's mention your Instagram for people that might want to follow you.
Okay. I mean, can we mention?
Yeah, whatever.
I have been collaborating with my father, my dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know how I did the book cover for him?
Yeah.
So that came just to talk about opportunities, like, you know, of what has come of this is like, now my family is more willing to reach out to me for artistic adventures and things. But no, I think it's cool that not only has my art brought together, you know, a community that I can bring together, but also like my family is more understanding of what I do and more understanding of.
Are you the only artist, quote unquote, in your family?
Yeah, you know, because I grew up on the technical, like, you know, you gotta go to work, you know, get a job, go to work, make money, a family, very traditional.
Yeah, the 9-to-5s.
And you know, that's how I'm traviesa. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so. I wish my brain worked that way, because I tried it for a lot of years and it didn't work. But it's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, sport's crazy.
So shout out to all the family up in San Jose.
Yeah. And
around the U.S. Because I think your sister's in New York now, right?
Sister's in New York. I have family in San Diego. I have family in Sacramento.
Shout out to the Peraltas.
Shout out Peraltas and the Garcias. Don't forget about them.
And so let's say your Instagram for the followers.
Number 2, Loquita 2.
2 Loquita 2.
2 Loquita 2.
Right.
At 2 Loquita 2.
At 2 Loquita 2. And you don't have a website? I don't think so.
I do. www.proyectoextra.com.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that came up because I'm always extra. My projects are always extra.
Proyecto Extra, which is also your TikTok.
Yes.
Which is,
and that's PROYECTOXTRA, no E.
Okay.
Yeah.
ProyectoExtra.com. Also, thank you to you for designing this little flower here that we put on. I mean, it's a leaf or a flower or something that.
That's a jasmine.
Jasmine. I don't even know that.
But you should know the history behind this decal.
Erica is the artist that created this little piece here. I had designed the whole thing, and I knew it needed something, and I remembered that she had posted this on Instagram, and I asked her if I can use it.
Do you know what it is?
It's a jasmine.
So that's the design that's on the Virgen de Guadalupe's tunic.
Oh, okay.
And it actually, when the Spanish drew it, it was actually the map of Mexico at the time, and so the rivers are going up into the towns into smoke. Yep.
Dude, mind blown! And it's a trip that I first did it in this color, which looks like the Virgen's, like
gold and teal. Yes, and teal means nobility.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. Well, I gotta tell my mom that. She'll be happy.
Well, I thought you knew when you took it.
You never told me that part.
Oh,
no.
I thought you did. That's why I had created the whole mural.
Yeah, I saw it on your Instagram. You had done it on a wall, but I don't remember if it was explained in there.
Oh, yeah.
I think I would have remembered that. Yeah. But yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Because I did the thing at MOA. I had to do all that research and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
So there's a question that we ask everybody at the end of every podcast. And this one you can try to answer in one sentence. And I don't explain it anymore.
Oh, good.
It's a vague question, and you can give a vague answer. So, Erica Peralta, how do you do it?
Can I say it?
Yes.
Marijuana. No, I'm kidding.
That's it. It's locked. Marijuana. We'll see you guys next week.